Hello everyone, welcome to the comprehensive guide to SMITE mid. We're going to be using Eset for this. This is a request by Martin Dorgan to use her specifically. Now, she's a bit unusual for a mid because she actually has a healing ult. Her ult actually does a ton. She also has a very unusual support type ability. She actually can play a decent support. Not my favorite go-to mage for supporting if I need to support as a mage for some reason, but she can do the role fairly well. I have had some really great support games with her, but we'll talk about that in a different episode. She has a really interesting time because her early game is somewhat odd. She clears just fine and relatively safely, not much more dangerously than your average mid laner, but she doesn't really have that much going for her in terms of 1v1s. Conditionally, if she hits her stun, she can absolutely slap down her landing opponent, but if she misses that, she's not going to be able to win that fight. So it becomes this really interesting game of, can I hit this, can I hit my stun right now? And that's what it comes down to. So, who is my landing opponent? This is having some really interesting times. This is Janus as my landing opponent. Alright. I can see this going well for me, potentially. But we'll have to see how this goes. Now, there's a lot that goes on with Eset that can make her incredibly impactful for a lot of the game. I might be against Freya. Janus is their jungler. I'm against Freya. Alright, first off, you always grab Wingust. Always. That is not really an option. That's not ever going to change. You can either go Sands of Time, or you can go with Conduit Gem a lot of the times. I typically go with Sands of Time because I prefer that MP5 right here. I prefer that cooldown. And now, at this particular point, where you want to go with this really depends, but I often typically go for Warlock's Staff on her because she has the ability to heal, and she also has probably should get Aegis. She has a couple things going for her in favor of Warlock's Staff. First off, one fairly significant point is that because she does heal, and the more you take damage, the more you heal, you also get damage mitigation. The more health you and your allies have in her ult, the better off you are. So building HP on Eset surprisingly works out fairly well. This particularly comes in handy in 1v1 scenarios where you can use your ult abnormally effectively in that situation. It's very unusual, but it is very effective. So just keep that in mind. I do typically build Warlock Staff on her for that reason. There was a time where Warlock Staff was too weak for that to be viable, and I actually stopped playing her a lot because of that. But now that it's back to actually being functionally useful again, it's worth building on her. For this reason, she also does really well with Ethereal Staff. Just for the exact same reason. But we're going to start with Warlock Staff very specifically first. There we go. Now, you're going to be tempted to think that her auto-attack chain here is particularly useful with that third shot. That just expands the range of it. It doesn't actually do anything for its damage output. It's just like one extra wide shot for some reason. It should count as multiple shots in my opinion. That was really nice. The fact that I was able to pick that up. This is... Nope, that is the mid lane Janus and a jungling Freya. That's actually really good for us because Freya is not going to be able to keep up movement speed-wise with Daji. So I'm actually really fine with this. We're going to go ahead and use the health potion here. And he should die. I'm going to go ahead and Aegis this so I don't die in exchange. There we go. Perfect, perfect. Now, this silence ability here that I just grabbed, this is interesting because it gives a shield to allies. It increases their magic protections as well if they get hit by it. If it hits enemies, it decreases their magic protections and silences them. So whether you use it on allies or enemies, it's incredibly useful either way. And it should not really be underestimated in terms of its functionality for that specific reason. This is actually a big reason why she's so potentially effective as a support. Incidentally, that is specifically why she can play a decent support. Again, there are better options for the role specifically, fairly obviously. But it is fairly impressive how significant that really can be. I'm not too concerned at this point. I would like to stick around long enough to get Warlock's staff up. He's almost out of mana, so I'm not too concerned here. I was not paying enough attention. Now, you want to keep this intersection as warded up as possible, because if the enemy dual lane is going to come from your side of the jungle, it's going to be that intersection. And the enemy dual lane is typically more likely to actually pop over and give you a visit. Furthermore, there is also the benefit of knowing if the enemy is going for your damage buff. Oh, shoot. Oh. I didn't know she was right there. That's very unfortunate. We're going to grab wards. We are going to need them. Now, it's very important as a mid laner to ward like a paranoid lunatic. Supremely important. You are going to be public enemy number 1, and there is some really important strategic reasons for this. 1. In the late game, as the mid laner, as the mage, typically the mage, you are going to be responsible for dealing the team fight damage, alright? That's what your role is responsible for. It just is. So, with that, each team is going to want to focus the mid laner. That is fairly obvious, and you can definitely understand why. Second, you're right stinking in the middle of the map. You're mid lane for a very specific reason. It's just easiest to pop to and from that lane. Mid lane. So, you are going to be... Wow, that's aggressive. You are going to be public enemy number 1. And you will need to respect that. Because if you don't, you will absolutely get stamped down. I should have expected something like that from Freya there. Oh, okay. She probably wants to solo clear that so she can catch up to Freya, who's fairly ahead at this point. You can't use that on me when I'm flying in wing gusts. Alright, now we're going to go grab this. And I need to know where Freya is. There she is. I completely whiffed that, but that's actually fine. We're just going to clear this really quick. There we go. Not even a problem. Warn them that Freya's in the left jungle. So is Jonas, apparently. My minions will be able to take care of that. I need to come over here because Jonas is over here for some unholy reason. I'm not sure why he rotated over here. I'm not going to be able to do anything over here. I'm too late. It was my fault. Do I have enough for this? Yes, I'm going to need to go back and stack this. Since I cleared my wave, that's not going to be too huge of a problem. Grab another ward. That's going to be some of his minion wave under my tower, I think. Yeah. Again, not too big of a concern. He's going to be a little ahead of me. Yeah. be just fine, though. Let me just show you. And that's also why she's so safe, is I just backed right out of that with 0 issues. Good, good. I'm gonna need more cooldown, though. Is he building? He's not. He built Divine Ruin first, which is fairly interesting. I think that was a mistake. You should never build Divine Ruin that early, this early, let me rephrase that, because there's not going to be so much healing that you need to be that early on the anti-heal. Especially since I, have my ult, it's not going to be healing that much at this stage anyways. Also, when you start increasing your abilities, you're almost always going to go for the stun next. Obviously, it's going to be more damage. It's going to be, I think, a longer stun. No, it's just 1 second stun. I'm going to shield myself for just a little bit less damage here. Oh, she didn't tank it. Alright. Okay, good. And we're just going to leave. Nice and safe. Alright. Always increase your ult because that actually just increases its healing and damage, which is pretty important. I wouldn't normally aggress onto this as a mage, but I have a self-heal with my ult here. There we go. We're just going to scoot on back. Now, that was fairly significant because not only did Janus die there, and I'm going to be able to get back to lane here in a decent amount of time and clear the wave, but then I'm going to get some nice free stacks here, especially since we have nice stacked waves here. There we go. I actually have nothing else to do, so I'm actually going to back up out of this. I'm going to see if I can buy something else fairly useful. Now, at this particular point in time, my best option... I have a couple of actually interesting ideas. I am going to want anti-heal later on. They are probably going to have enough there for that, but I don't need it now. What we are going to do is we are going to go for something a little bit interesting that isn't often considered anymore, but it's unusually useful on Eset, and that is Charon's Coin. I should have built wards, but I didn't. Now, why is Charon's Coin so important on Eset? And I'm going to actually reveal ahead of time, I am also going to be looking to grab Doom Orb next. Why? Well, as you've probably noticed, Wing Gust, you can move fairly quickly with Wing Gust. And that's fairly significant because that means you can dodge a hole. The faster you can move while doing Wing Gust, the safer it is. Right? That's just facts. So, if you have nice high movement speed, Wing Gust becomes impossible to escape. Which is the goal here. The faster I can move, the more devastating Wing Gust can be in terms of pursuit. Can I save Daji here? Probably not. Oh, wait. They're committing too hard to this. I think... Oh, no, we're going to be going for Janus here. Yeah, I saw that coming. Oh, holy cow. Oh, no. Ah. Run. Ah, shoot. I almost made it out of that. Alright, we are going to get Charon's Coin. Now, the fact that this has penetration is something that we're going to be using more in the late game. I wouldn't normally purchase penetration items this early, but I'm really looking to get the assists on this so I can get that movement speed increase. It does give me some HP and MP5, which is going to be very useful for sustaining in fights, especially since her passive also gives me HP and MP5, so actually that turns out really well. And now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, my next item is going to be Doom Orb. It's going to give me a huge power spike, and it's going to give me, of course, movement speed. I also am not going to have to really worry about penetration much because I already am going to be running 30% penetration, and I have, of course, the up to eventually I'll have 20% magic protection debuff from silence. So overall, we're going to be in a very strong position to wipe out tanks, and Eset's very good at eliminating tankier enemies as a result. This isn't exactly an ideal comp for her. She typically wants to be facing off mage-wise against, say, Anubis or Zhong Kui. She's particularly good at eliminating. I don't know where Janos is. The one problem here is that Eset normally can out-rotate most of her mid-lane competition. Janos is the one exception. Of course, it's Janos is my laning opponent for this. I'm not too concerned. There we go. Are they actually going to interrupt this? No. Let me ult this really quick. Nope, not today, Zerg. Hey, Janos. Janos bailed really quick on that one. I killed Kuzenbo, which wasn't worth it. Me for Kuzenbo was not going to be worth it. Nah, it wasn't worth it at all. Shoot. That's okay, though. Alright. Now, the question's going to be, after Doom Orb, what am I going to be building? I would normally... nah, Ethereal Staff isn't really going to be that helpful, honestly. That is a good question. What will I want to grab? Should probably grab more cooldowns, actually, to be honest. I should build wards, to be honest. We have the Pyromancer, so I'm not concerned about wasting my Wind Gusts like that. Alright. Now, at this particular point in time... yeah, I'll definitely be wanting, now I'm having a brain fart. I'll want Divine Ruin, of course. Yeah, Divine Ruin and Bancrofts. Do I... Yeah, that's going to be an interesting question. I'm going to have to think about what my next item is going to be after Doom Orb. It's going to come up today, or there we go. Alright. Very good. I think he goofed his portal. Alright, now we're starting to actually... oh, I know what I need. Nah, I know exactly what I need as my last item. Yep. I'm probably still going to want Divine Ruin. No, he's not building any magic lifesteal, Janos. I might not need Divine Ruin. That'll remain to be seen. I'd be very surprised if I didn't need Divine Ruin. With enough speed, you can actually pop in and out of towers like that. I don't have enough speed right now because I don't have Doom Orb completed, obviously, but we're almost there. The fact that Frey died there is huge. Just doing some... why are you here? Excuse me. What the hell is this guy? Excuse me? Alright. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I'm not going to tank that. We have Athena here, though, now, so... there we go. I'm in some trouble here. She's gonna die. Yep. That's fine. Not really, but... can we take this? Nah, really? Alright. Oh, no. Oh, shoot. Oh, he's gonna kill me. Best I can do is help my friends take him with me. Yep. Alright, can we... get... Yes, alright, good. Alright, I do have enough for Doom Orb, which is pretty huge. Now, I have a couple of different options I could take. Let's look at the enemy build here. Actually, no, before we do that, I am going to just start working on Rod of Tahuti. And then we're going to take a good to hard look at what the enemy is building. Let me see. Do we have enough HP here? No, we really don't. So do we have enough HP to justify building Soul Reaver, but we don't. Or E-Staff, for that matter, but we don't have any of those. Not enough healing going on there for Divine Ruin. So I think what I might just do is go for, in a surprise twist, I might just go for Chronos Pendant, because that'll give me some nice cooldowns, and I'll have 40% cooldowns, I'll have 40% penetration, and I can hit really hard, and have all the cooldowns I could ever need. Are they going to need saving? Probably not. I'm going to grab my damage camp and see what happens. There's Freya. Attack cancel there. There we go. Holy cow. Alright, she's starting to roll into critical mass. I was not prepared at all for that. Holy cow. Oh, that was very unfortunate. Kuzenbo's right there. That's not good. She really destroyed me there. I'm going to need probably, in light of that, I'm probably going to need Chronos Pendant first. I should have stunned her right away, and I didn't. That was my mistake there. My first reflex should have been get the stun, which would give me a second, wear down her buffs by a second. That should have been my first reaction. And it was not. Looks like we're going to have another fight over here. But they're going to take out, yeah, that's going to be the death of Athena, yeah. We're going to want to join that fight as quickly as possible. We're ahead of Janus by a substantial amount because he keeps dying. Unfortunately, while Janus can out-rotate Eset and is the only mage that really can, it is still unfortunate that she's got two different ways of preventing him from getting into his portal, so it's actually a bad matchup for Janus overall. Even though, again, he can out-rotate her, that's not going to make a difference if she's just slapping him down every time they get into a fight, which I can possibly do, depending on my positioning and my cooldowns. Since my damage buff is gone, I'll take theirs. Okay. I'll take their everything, actually. Perfect. That's not going to be anywhere near up. This is, though. Come on. There you go. Let's grab the oracles really quick just to make sure they don't pull anything. There we go. We're not concerned about the fact that they're right there. What you said attack Fire Giant. Now we're chasing down Kuzenbo in our jungle. Would you be able to make up your minds? Missed that. I'm following in the Athena. Alright. And then be silenced. Get magic damaged. Yes, we have the catapult. Now, the reason why we're switching from going for the Fire Giant, which we normally would, to attacking the middle lane is because we have this catapult here, which is really going to slap down this, the tower there, the Phoenix, excuse me. Mine. Get out of here, Janus. Oh, we're attacking right lane now. But we're going for the Fire Giant finally. Well, I wish... See, the problem is there's too many people making calls. I'm glad we finally settled on Fire Giant, though. At the very least. Holy cow. That's fine. I can understand why we would ignore mid lane. The catapult should be able to take care of that. I like how Danzaboto's just split pushing because there's no hope he has no hope of stopping us over here. He just went for the smart option there. There's a catapult stopping the minions. Poor Danza. Yeah, we should probably back up. Hey, hold up. And... Hey there, son. Nice. Oh, hello. Perfect. I gotta get out of here. Yes, that's a really great idea. Can I grab Pendulum of Ages first really quick? And I'll also grab this as well, because that's going to give me 40% cooldowns. And then I'll grab Rod of Tahuti as my final item. Now, you typically want to be grabbing Rod of Tahuti either as your 5th or 6th item, because it's increasing your damage by 25% for anybody under half health. Obviously, the more damage you have, the more effective that is, so it's something that you absolutely should be looking to buy later on in the game, especially considering how expensive it is. When you're, the later in the game it is, the more gold you're getting from minions and stuff. I cannot believe I did not survive this. Oh, that taunt saved my life. I gotta get the hell out of here before Janos finds me. Holy cow, that Athena totally saved my life. I goofed that last stun. That was what was gonna kill me, if anything. That's what the Athena saved me from, was my complete whiff on that stun. If I'd hit that, I would have been able to disengage at the very least. But because I missed that, I was in definite danger of just getting murdered right then and there. Just take care of you really quick, and then I'm going to go over here and try to save Zhongqi, I think. Yeah. Excellent. Where did Kuzenbo go? There he is. Nice. Alright, that's not a bad call at all. Alright, didn't need the explosion. What is this called again? Spirit Ball, that's the one. Should have known that. There's a meme about that. Old meme at this point. But a meme nevertheless. I don't want to engage Freya. I don't have the kind of 1v1 potential that she does. It's, as we've just clearly proven, it's just not likely to work out. I want to grab some more gold. I did not need to Spirit Ball that at all. Alright. There we go. I mean, I wasn't going to take your buff. I just wanted to drop it for the gold. He takes the actual damage buff here. What is this? Okay, so... yeah. You ping that, but I already can tell you probably not enough people are going to pay attention to that. Nice. I know for a fact Freya's behind us. So is Janos, actually. Alright. Okay. Let me just, maneuver here really quick. Nice. Come on, die. Yes! Now we just have Kuzenbo to deal with. Ah, shoot. Alright, we don't have what we need. What do you mean attack mid lane? We don't have... Oh, no. Ah, that rocket killed me. I realized way too late. That's what that was. I was like, what the hell? Oh, no. Ah, too bad we didn't get any towers. Could have gotten Rod. Oh, wait. No, I didn't get the assist credit for that. Shoot. That's too bad. Alright. There we go. I think I'll probably... Yeah, I definitely have that. And then we can get... What I'm going to specifically go for is the Perfected Rod. This is primarily for two reasons. One, again, my auto attacks aren't that great. I actually want to talk about those in a bit. But we're going to get a 10% movement speed boost. And also reduces our non-ultimate abilities by 1.5 seconds. This is insane. Especially since I'm pretty sure, I haven't fully tested this yet, but I'm pretty sure Wing Gust just triggers this with 2 hits. I could be wrong. But we're about to find out once I get that. Attack Fire Giant, you say, when the entire enemy team is alive and we don't have Zhong Kui. Does not seem like a good plan, but okay, Chief. Are they going to be able to take care of Freya over there? I think so, yeah. I was going to say. She's going to land and die, and I think this is the end of the game here. Yep. Yeah, we just win there. She tried. And yep, that's just victory right there. Alright. Now, what have I been talking about with her auto attacks, incidentally, by the way? Well, even though it says, additionally, Eset's final basic attack on her progression has a wider radius of +2, the issue with this, and the reason why she can't do ADC like, say, Poseidon or Zeus could, who have really great auto attacks, her final chain isn't multiple projectiles, despite looking like it should be. It's just, technically, in terms of numbers, it's not multiple projectiles, it's just one wide one. I'm actually going to, and this, I've been doing this a lot lately, but I don't usually do this for various characters, but I'll go into jungle practice and show you what I mean by this. But Eset as a mage builds rather specifically. A lot more specifically than most mages. You have a bunch of different unusual options for most mages, but Eset is such a unique mage in more of her ult and the fact that she's got the silence ability, which gives a shield or what, silences enemies, which is very powerful against mid lane mages. She actually typically performs very well against other mages. This is actually why she really slapped Janus. Freya's an auto-attack mage and doesn't care if she's got her abilities up. She uses her abilities before engaging and then just really slaps you down. That's actually why I had such a hard time with Freya, is because silencing Freya means very little. I was reducing her protections, but again, Freya is an ADC and didn't have magic protections at all, so reducing her magic protections really didn't matter. Keep in mind that silence reduces magic protections by 20%. Freya only had 62 magic protections, so that was only going to go down by 12 right there. And then I had 40% penetration, so it was almost like it was only reducing her protections by like 30-ish, and I'm rounding for that, which sounds really impressive until you realize that she wasn't even really reducing that much damage in the first place, and she was healing back so much from the lifesteal that it really didn't matter, which is of course the problem. Now, this was actually a great match for actually demonstrating the difference here between the two mages. Another thing is, as I mentioned at the beginning of the game, Eset does unusually well with HP, again, specifically relating to her ult, but also it's really nice because it buys her a little bit of extra time to maybe shield herself with silence or get that stun. Um, but yeah, you really want to be busting out as many abilities as possible on Eset. You'll notice I did fairly well damage-wise. It was only when Danzaburou or Freya were really, coming at me that we were having an issue. And Eset also, you'll notice that I was able to silence King Arthur out of a lot of his abilities. She does, for the same reason she does well against mages, she does really well against ability-based warriors, she does really well against ability-based assassins. She's unusually effective against a lot of enemies, and with time and practice, you'll really quickly realize exactly who she's really effective against a lot of the time in terms of non-mage enemies, and which mages to watch out for when you're in lane with them. Poseidon tends to just switch to auto-attack focus and just slap you down anyways, as an example. Freya, of course, we've already covered why she's a threat to Eset throughout. But Eset is really odd as well in that she doesn't really do a whole lot of team fight damage. A lot of mages have these wide sweeping abilities that hit multiple people. For example, Janus' Unstable Vortex is this really wide, a very wide pair of vortexes that just sweep through, and that's a fairly wide ability. Wind Gusts, while not too bad in terms of width and ability to impact, really their impact is coming from piercing, just going through enemies and hitting someone behind them. And of course, the Spirit Ball, that's just a large ball that only hits people in a specific small area. She doesn't really team fight that well overall compared to some other mages. Again, Janus is a really interesting comparison because he doesn't have a whole lot of team fight either. Unstable Vortex is, as I mentioned, a wide ability, but his portal isn't. It pulls someone out of the fight for a couple of seconds and does some damage, and that's about it. Whereas you compare Eset to, say, Poseidon, who has massive amounts of wide-range team-fighting impact, and same thing with Ra. He's got the piercing attack in his beam, just like Eset has with Wind Gusts. But then he's got this really great personal AoE on his blind, and then he's got the impressive AoE on his heal, which also boosts the protections and power of allies in that, as well as heals them. So, really, a large amount of Eset's teamfight comes from her ult, which is also why it's so important to build so much cooldown on her. You want that ult up every time you're in a teamfight. You want that ult up as often as possible. You want that stun to be available as often as possible, because that, combined with Wind Gusts, is actually her primary way of getting out of ugly situations. Eset really wants cooldowns. Now, I was able to cram in 40% cooldowns, but having more wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing if you decide to pick up the earring once they eventually fix that. That's a possibility. But you can really also see where Eset has a lot of ease taking out enemies that aren't great at 1v1s. I could slap down Janus, I could slap down Kuzenbo, I could slap down King Arthur easily. The instant I go up against somebody with an auto-attack focus, though, Freya, Danzaburou, who are much better at 1v1 combat, Eset falls apart. So Eset as a mage is this really bizarre midway point between teamfight damage and individual target damage. But having as much cooldown as possible really helps. As I mentioned earlier, movement speed is really great on Eset because it really allows her to do some really fun things with Wind Gusts, especially in terms of pursuing enemies. That really helps there, to the point where it's actually possible for her to maintain the distance needed for Wind Gusts for most everyone, even a lot of faster junglers with speed buffs. I think the only junglers, actually, I'm going to just put this out there, the only people who can consistently outpace her, even with all this movement speed, on Wind Gusts would be Lancelot, Awelish, and late-game Mercury. Just because they have something, in the first two cases, they're riding something that increases their move speed, and in Mercury's case, he just has a passive move speed boost. Other than those three, Eset can keep up with literally everyone else and even surpass them. She does really well against more immobile mages, such as Zeus, as an example. Zhong Kui she does really well against, as I mentioned earlier. Anubis, same thing. So Eset is definitely an odd mage to play when compared to a lot of other mages, because she doesn't really mage in the way you typically think. If you don't like mages, give Eset a shot because she doesn't play a lot like other mages. She's not like other mages. Jokes aside, she really is very non-standard in how she applies her damage compared to a lot of other mages. And her utility in a team fight doesn't necessarily come from her damage, it comes from what her abilities are doing. A stun, a silence, a shield, or a shield, depending on who you use it on, a damage mitigation area that heals you and damages enemies at the end of it. It's a really weird combination of effects that she can bring to bear in a team fight. And then she can just fly away with wing gusts and do damage at the same time. It's very odd. Very effective if you have, like I had here, a really great team. Really effective even if you're behind. You're not really going to hit that hard as Eset, but if Eset falls behind in the early game, as, say, for example, if I had been doing as badly as Janos had, I still would have been able to contribute to the team fight via my ult, via the silence, via that stun. The interesting thing about Janos, and the problem with Janos, is when he falls behind, he can increase the move speed of his allies, decrease the move speed of his enemies with that line, and he can put an enemy in a portal. And that's it. He can potentially, with his ult, transfer allies to a specific area. He might be able to rescue allies using his portals. But in terms of damage, he falls off very hard, and unless he's rescuing an ally with a portal, there's not really a hell of a lot he can do. Even pulling someone out of the fight for a couple of seconds with his portal isn't necessarily a huge deal. That's only a couple of seconds, and if he's behind, it's not even going to hit that hard either. So, but Eset, because of all of this different utility she's got, only wing gusts really becomes partially meaningless if you're really behind. Even if it's not doing much damage, it still works very effectively as a very strong way of disengaging from a dangerous opponent. In fact, if Freya didn't have Hastened Ring, I probably would never have been killed by her in the first place. She was only able to stick to me because of Hastened Ring. If she didn't have that, I would have been able to wing gust right away from her with absolutely no issues. So with that being said, thank you all very much for joining me. If you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns... Oh, no, wait, hold on. I can't end this yet. I almost forgot. I actually need to show you the problem with Eset's auto attacks, because it is a very... visually, it doesn't make sense. I'll just put it that way. You probably noticed during the match... Where is Eset? Hold on, there we go. You probably noticed during the match, but her auto attacks aren't as good as you would think they would be. And this is why you really double down on the ability damage. Yeah, having AoE attack on your auto attack chain can help with wave clear, but I just think there's better ways of doing this. But I just want to come over here and just fight this Odin bot here. This, it looks like it should be hitting a whole lot more. It looks like if I melee this, I should be doing more damage, like if I'm hitting all of those. But if you actually look at this, her attack chain is standard 1.5 times damage. I've seen people, I've not only seen others try, but myself, I have also tried to make her an effective ADC. And I've gotten lucky a couple of times, but I'm aware of the fact that it's just luck. She can't auto-attack like that, pardon me for puberty, because she doesn't have any kind of attack speed buff. Her auto-attacks really aren't that powerful despite the visuals. Having an AoE auto-attack on the third chain, compared to, say, Heimdall, why would you pick Eset when you can pick Heimdall? There's just no inherent advantage at all, just a series of disadvantages for trying to take her into the ADC role. Please don't do it. But I just wanted to really quickly cover that because it looks like it should be more powerful than it actually is. And I just wanted to warn you ahead of time that don't be fooled by the visual representation of her auto attacks. It really doesn't work the way it visually looks like it should. So now with that being said, thank you all very much for joining me. If you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, or requests, please leave them down in the comment section below.